Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Allison. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Allison.
And thank you for your share. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys are here. So, have people to talk to. And Austri, thank you for sponsoring me. I have learned that my best thinking got me here. And when a couple old timers that I respect make a suggestion, I probably should take it even if I don't feel like it. So I did. And I'm really enjoying studying the traditions with Austri and our other person in crime at those meetings. It's awesome. I'm just going to start off with a reading to kick me off here. So this is from June 6th in Daily Reflections. All we can do is try. Can you now take them all, everyone? And that's from Alcoholics Anonymous, page 76. In doing step 6, it helped me a lot to remember that I am striving for spiritual progress. Some of my character defects may be with me for the rest of my life, but most of them have been toned down or eliminated. All that step 6 asks of me is to become willing to name my defects, claim them as my own, and be willing to discard the ones I can just for today. As I grow in the program, many of my defects become more objectionable to me than previously, and therefore I need to repeat step 6 so I can become happier with myself and maintain my serenity. I'm like, oh, I just started shaking. I'm not nervous. And so, like, progress, not perfection, has kind of been like a repetitive theme in my life recently. Like, I know I've been hearing it at every AA meeting since I've showed up at this place, but it's definitely meant different things to me over the years. And so let me start at the beginning, not at the very beginning of time, but at the beginning of my drinking. I too had my first drink at 12 years old. I don't know what it's with that age, but I snuck it. So I was a sneaky little liar from the very beginning. If I wanted to do something and I knew the rules were, telling me not to do it, I was going to do it anyway. And then, try not to deal with the consequences later. So I would do all sorts of things, like sneak into my little baby brother's room when he was brought home from the hospital and gave him a pillow and a stuffed animal, like in a newborn's bassinet, like just to help him because he looked really uncomfortable without a pillow, things like that. So I snuck my first drink. I really, really wanted this drink and I'd never had one before. So I thought that was kind of like, in retrospect, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, why did I want to get my hands on alcohol so freaking bad? I just didn't feel comfortable in my skin, now that I know that. I didn't know all the wonderful things and all the terrible things that alcohol we were gonna go through together. And so I had my first drink. I didn't get drunk. I was really kind of ticked that I got caught and I couldn't finish it. But it was gin or something like that, and it wasn't I didn't really like the taste of it. So like I said, I was kind of on a mission to get alcohol. So I had a normal life in elementary school, high school. I had a house with nobody who was an active alcoholic, but I had a whole lot of yelling and arguing going on. Probably two unhealthy people, but that's their story. And I think I was raised and told, like, you are smart, you're beautiful, you're great, you can be an astronaut. But on the inside, I was just like, what the fuck? Sorry. I was really just confused. Like, how can these people be telling me this? Because I have no idea, like, how to even comprehend, like this is not true. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not true. So anyway, that was my life. I did okay in school, before partying was a thing on the weekends and stuff. Because once I got to high school, I would pretty much go in the front door and out the back door. I'd get dropped off at school. My boyfriend would pick me up from his other high school, and I would just cut school all the time. Like, I just did what I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it, regardless of the consequences. I thought I was enjoying my life. I mean, because it seemed the only natural thing for me to do was to drink to party, have a boyfriend, and party. I guess I don't know what it was. Just goof off, do whatever I wanted to do. And looking back upon it, I mean, I have forgotten this, but like I almost didn't graduate high school. Like holy crap! Like they were like, you missed this many days, and like somehow something happened. Somebody had a conversation, and I got to graduate. But I left high school without any friends. And I had friends throughout the 4 years there, but it was sort of a fleeting thing. Like I'd hang out with this person for a little while, but this girl was really best friends with this other person, or these straight edge guys that I hung out with. Like I hung out with all the straight edge guys, but I was like the drunk lunatic, and they rejected me too eventually, and I really didn't get it. I thought, how can you reject me? Like, I really thought that I was the cream of the crop. Like, just look at me. Like, if you just look at what you're missing, how could you be saying no to me now? Like, I did not have anything on the inside at all. Like, it was so sad, so sad. And I didn't know I was sad. Didn't know I was sad then. I was just like, somebody love me, somebody please accept me. And, usually like sleeping with people or partying with people, those were the two ways that I was capable of bonding with another person. And so I was a weekend warrior. When I turned 21, I was off to the races. I mean, now I'm legal, right? So drinking and driving from the very start. Trying to count drinks, but that was a bunch of BS because I never kept track. I had experience watching other alcoholics count their drinks with like straws and stuff like that, but I never had any good results with trying to track my drinking. I had some ideas, like marking the days off on my calendar that I didn't drink, and there was never an X on my calendar on a day where I was like, this is a day where I didn't drink, because there was something in me that was telling me like, partying every night, passing out, waking up hungover, and then dragging my butt to work again the next day over and over again, like staying up to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Like there was some part of me that was like, hello, so maybe your liver needs a break. I was still in denial back then. And so I would make jokes that I was an alcoholic. And anyway, 21, the years went on and my drinking progressed. If I was your girlfriend, forget about it. Like faithful was not a thing in my vocabulary. Like I just did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And I had no shame. Like I would, cheat on a guy, he'd find out, and then I would like say, oh, can I go with you? Like you're moving out? Like, can I come? Because I was just lost. I was lost. I was confused. I didn't know how to do life at all. So kept drinking. I moved a few times thinking that it would be different. It was not. It just got worse. And it was very interesting because like I did have a lot of times, like I had a lot of fun drinking. Like I had some real good times. And I had some really throwing up times. But what I was able to do when I was younger, and like what I could make acceptable to myself at the end of my drinking, I just could not make it acceptable. I could not, like, I know I haven't made up this line and I'm not going to repeat it exactly like I've heard it, but it's like I could always lower my standards and then drink and be okay with it. But at the end, that wasn't working. Like the alcohol wasn't allowing me to feel okay with the things that I was doing and the things that I was saying. And that's when this stuff really started to get to me. And and I was just like, this feels like crap. And I wanted to die. I had the worst hangovers, but I'm sure we've all had a hangover. Maybe not all of us. But I really wanted to die. I never attempted suicide. But if, had I continued drinking, that could have been part of my story. But I literally was like trying to pour as much alcohol into my body and take whatever drug you handed me, like without, like, just keep putting it in until like I can't put it in anymore. So I literally think that my disease, I believe, absolutely was trying to kill me. As an active alcoholic, I had no real choice. It seemed like I didn't have a choice about, I didn't know where I was going to end up. I ended up at the sleaziest people's places with things that I was, but for the grace of God, I have not done a lot of things that could have killed me. I have not done a lot of things that, I have done a lot of things that I've had to forgive myself for. So anyway, well, you saw where that was going, right? I hit bottom one day, and I picked up the phone, and I got through a lot of conversations and a lot of telling a lot of people in one day that I have a problem with alcohol. I ended up at my first AA meeting, and I did not say a word. But the cool thing is that I stayed after the meeting, and the woman leading it gave me her name and number and asked me if I knew where I was going the next day. And this is like literally the beginning of my journey in AA. She said, "Do you know where you're going tomorrow?" And I'm like, I didn't know anything about AA. And she said, "There's a meeting right down the street." And so I went to that second meeting, and I sat in the back, and you people came up to me, and you reached your hand out to me, and you said, "Hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. Would you want to come sit with me?" And then that whole table of people gave me their phone numbers. And that ended up being my first home group. I heard the suggestions of get a home group and get a job at that home group, get a sponsor and use it, don't drink, go to meetings, and work the steps. Well, anyway, that's a whole lot of suggestions for me to spit out right now. But what they think they told me basically was to get a sponsor and a home group at the beginning. That's probably not all they told me in my second meeting. So I did that, and I did the 90-90, another 90-90, and 2 weeks into sobriety, and I was like, oh my God, physically, the feeling was back in my limbs. Like physically, I felt a whole lot better after I had not had a drink for 2 weeks. And then I got a sponsor, and I was scared to ask her, but she said yes. And she led me through the steps. She's like, okay. She's like, call me every day. Messages don't count. I was like, okay. So I had to call her sometimes multiple times a day. And report into her what I was doing. Like I told her if I went to work, I went to a meeting, I talked to so-and-so, I thought about drinking, I had this, whatever. I started forming a relationship with her, but I think more importantly, it was the beginning of me learning how to be honest with somebody. It's scary as shit, to be honest, and to be yourself, especially with a complete stranger, but we all start off as strangers with each other. And she didn't run away, and she had her own crazy stories, which was awesome. And some of them I was like, like, ew. But I've done some gross stuff too. And, but I really appreciated that. And it was new to me because like hearing other people's experiences about like what they did when they were drinking, it's not conversation that I had with you guys when I was active. Like we were not talking about bad stuff, no, the shameful stuff. So I was on my journey, started working the steps with her guidance the whole time. I went to a lot of book studies, and I stuck with the winners. Like these people who had really what I wanted, I would follow you around like a puppy dog, and you didn't care. I mean, you stood outside smoking, that's where I was. You were in the kitchen cleaning up, that's where I was. You told me to do something, that's what I did. And I got sober, damn it. And it was really, really cool. I'd say I got sober by like not drinking and picking up coffee cups and putting away chairs. So, that's what happened, and that's how I got here, and that's like the beginning of my journey. And my life, that was like about a little over 20 years ago, which I feel so old when I say that. It's been amazing. I got sober in New Jersey. I moved to Utah with a man, a guy, and we had started a relationship in New Jersey when I was about 5 years sober, and the most amazing person I've ever met. And like totally accepting of my disease and me, like, oh, it's okay that you don't drink around me, like, because I was like, I laid down the rules, no, there's no alcohol in my house, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, that's fine. Okay. It was weird. It was neat. I had never met anybody like him before. So anyhow, we moved to Utah. A lot of people ask why, but it's an amazingly beautiful state. And we lived there for 12 years. And that's really when I started on the self-pity pot. I will tell you this right now. I moved, and despite my hardest efforts of plugging in, I got a sponsor, I got a home group, I did the friggin' 90 and 90, even though those meetings drove me crazy. And I just kept going and not drinking and doing the stuff. But I was like in culture shock, and like having none of you people who I had known for 9 years at the meetings, it really threw me. And I went down this path of like, I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but like, I wonder if I could have been a prima ballerina, if I wasn't an alcoholic and my parents didn't suck. Like, could I have been, like Michael Jordan or something like that? Like, just like all of this. And I really went with it. I was like, I was pissed. And I was like, but I wasn't looking at how wonderful my life was, I worked from home in this like God's creation at in this mountain town with a wonderful person. And I had the support of AA, but I would not allow myself to accept them. I would not allow I didn't know it. I just tried. And they didn't kick me out, so they let me keep coming, which was awesome. But God, now looking back, I was just like, I feel like so bad, and nobody could help me. Only I could have. I wouldn't admit to myself that I wasn't accepting the meetings there and the people. Like, I thought that if I opened my ears to what they were saying, I was going to learn something wrong. Yeah. I honestly did. I was like, they're not going to, I'm sure there's something, and I'm afraid to like be as open-minded and willing as I was in New Jersey, because what if something that they do out here is different, and that like messes me up. And then I start like thinking wrong, and I start working AA wrong like they are. And so it was like, God help me, but for the grace of God, I didn't drink. And I worked my program to the best of my ability. And I think that is why I didn't drink, and the progress, not perfection bit is like, I look back upon like a long period. It was like, we lived there for 12 years. How long it took me to friggin' accept reality. It's just kind of blows my mind. So I can compare myself, at the beginning, and then when we were there, and then to now. God really is amazing. And when I know I'm skipping around, but that's okay. I know I'm saying what I'm supposed to say. So I got to move to Washington, obviously. And how did it happen? We sold our house because the real estate market was like going crazy there. And because of COVID, I got to work remote. And so I got freedom to work from almost wherever I wanted to. And so my husband and I sold our house, and in a month we were up here. But in the meantime, my sponsor was at a retreat with other AA ladies, and one of them is from here. And so when my sponsor heard this lady say, "Oh, I'm so-and-so from Seattle," she went and introduced herself and got her number for me. And I got hooked up with, you guys are all great, but, I got hooked up with a key player up here. This lady does not mess around. She's like probably the leader of the Welcome Club, got the biggest smile, the biggest heart, and she just did what people had done for her when she had moved in the past. And she just kind of made me she brought me into her life, invited me to every single friggin' thing that she was doing, and it was around the holidays, so it was good. I got to meet these folks because she was chairing a meeting there. So I just started saying yes to whatever she invited me to. And I got plugged in for real up here. And I'm so grateful for that, because my life is amazing. I don't know what else to say, except that I guess my whole point is, with the progress, not perfection, is that I could beat myself up. I could feel sorry for myself. I really like to ruminate. It's not a gift. It's not a gift. It's not. And what it says in the literature, the more that I've looked, is like, my higher power doesn't want me to spend my time like ruminating on like all this like awful shit that I think is happening. And I don't mess around too much anymore with like, I'm going to plug in with my higher power, like for a minute here, a minute here, a minute here. Like I got to the point last May where I was like, I don't know, I wanted to wake up. I didn't want to die anymore, but I was like, this sucks. Like, this really sucks. Like, my job, I just didn't want to, like, I just wasn't looking forward to the day. That's what I mean. And, so I hit bottom, and that's when I thought, like, God, you really need God's help, and you're really not trying hard enough, lady. And you can't have a friendship with somebody in a human form, and if I don't put the time in. And so that's what I started doing with my higher power, really, because I really have to. If I want to have serenity and peace in this life, I need to work on that relationship with my higher power and be like best friends with it and have plug in. So I spend more than a minute, and I do it in the morning. And because, I haven't had to pick up a drink since I got here, but I only have today. And I know how low that I got. So anyhow, today I focus on my morning meditation and my prayers, and I'm teachable again. I wasn't teachable. Well, the whole time I was in Utah, I was not teachable. I thought I knew it. I thought I knew stuff, but I didn't. I couldn't admit that I thought I knew something. That took a lot more suffering to get to that point. So I'm really grateful to admit that I don't know a lot, and that I am studying the literature like I did when I was at a newcomer. If you are thinking that you've already read it and that you know what it says already, just keep coming and don't pick up a drink and keep going to meetings and working the steps, because for me, I've gone through ups and downs like I've explained, and I have that new pair of glasses today because I understand what the progress is. The progress is me developing my relationship with my higher power, like every day doing the same stuff with step 6. And sometimes I do it really crappy, and sometimes like I really get into it and I feel like I've got like, oh yeah, that really makes sense. And other times when I don't think that I can figure it out, I don't have to figure it out. My higher power has answered every question that I've ever asked of it, which is really amazing. The only times when I think I'm not getting the answers is when I don't like focus on like asking. And I think I'm going to shut up now because I started to sweat really a lot. And that's all I've got. Thanks.